Exception Blacklisted Podcast.
All right, we are live. We're going to run through a state of CrossFit podcast for you guys here. I think there's been a little bit of some news going on, I guess. I don't know if or some events, I guess, going on.
Speculation.
Yeah, speculation. I mean, not speculation with the drug test, but that's
that's all speculation too.
Oh, we hit the tainted supplements. Damn it. So yeah, a lot of just kind of some things floating around. So we're gonna kind of chat about those and maybe give our perspective on some of that stuff, and then we'll probably wrap it up after that. But just wanted to give a quick shout out to Training Box and Repair, Perform, Recover. Two of our sponsors for the podcast, or sponsors for the company. Train Box is where we're based out of in Roswell, Georgia, if you guys are looking for a place to train. And then Repair, Perform, Recover is over in Marietta. Lauren and her crew does great body work. So if you guys are in the Atlanta area and are looking for somebody to help out with nagging injuries or acute injuries, whatever it might be, they are the spot to go to. So, cool. So I guess the first thing that has been popping up on people's radar, probably the drug test, but I think one of the bigger things that's more influential in people's seasons is just what the state of the season is going to look like next year, or the structure for the season is going to look like. And I think we've both heard a couple different things or different ideas on it. So I don't know, what have you been hearing?
Well, anytime we'll start with this. The state of CrossFit Inc. Okay, that's the rest. I think a lot of people that get get panicked. We've already done this. We've already seen it. Not that it should always continuously happen, but it's just that it's just them. It's just them. So CrossFit everywhere else is normal.
Sport of
fitness is not like everyone. Don't panic.
Yeah.
Wadapalooza is still there, like big competition. They've expanded to 2 competitions now. So like
Fittest of the Coast.
Fittest of the Coast is great right now. It's already doubled in how many people have just registered, or over doubled registrations.
Yeah.
And the level of athlete has drastically increased. There's the Fittest Experience. So there's all kinds of competitions. Everybody relax there. Those will continue to grow.
Yeah.
Great competitions to go compete at. You can go make money. We're good there. The season of CrossFit Inc. that everyone's used to, that's 7-8 months long. When they take this long to talk or say anything,
change is coming.
Change is coming, baby. When you get silent, things are brewing.
Yeah.
So I hear the speculations of different things that are going on. The first one was that everything's going online except the games. There's a video, I think, of Don Fall talking and said the games are happening or whatever. So like nobody has to panic about that. But what it looks like to get there, there's a bunch of different options out here going on.
Yeah,
nobody
knows.
No, I mean well,
somebody knows.
People do know. Rich, I bet you know, dog. And he'll tell you, no, I don't.
No, yeah.
Well, you know what? He might not. If Dave's not involved, he might not know.
Yeah, true.
But there's always people that know, because there's stuff that's leaking always consistently, just like the games workouts, they always get leaked.
Right.
But anyway, I think the online makes sense. No one wants to do it. I think you'll lose the most amount of high level athletes. They'll be like, screw this, I'm done.
Wait, did you already say that all online minus the games? You already said that part. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I missed that.
I think just starting there. I think if that is the thing that happens, everyone's already pissed. And again, change, people get pissed, there's reactions, whatever.
Yeah.
But I do think this one, people will stick to that and be like, I'm either done with CrossFit or I'm just going to compete at these other comps I can make money.
Well, I think when they did that in, 2019 and went to qualifying through the Open, they lost, I think it was like 100,000 people, if not more than that, in online registration. So I think the Open came out to be about $16 million for them. So 100,000 is about $2 million. So that's over 10% of your income then that you lose off a registration. So that's not a pretty penny, or not something you want.
But again, that's why I think they realize, like, let's open up to 20% for quarterfinals. So
right,
we get more money.
Right.
which they're not changing that because that's how they make money.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you want to be a business in the competition space, the best way to make money is through your online system.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's no overhead. You're literally just putting the workouts out there. Like, maybe you got to do some filming for them, but outside of that, like, your cost is so low, and that's where you make all of your money.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for them to go to a predominantly online-based system and then have the games where there's sponsorships and vendor fee will cover a majority of their costs, if not all of their costs. And I think back in like 2016 or something, word on the street was that regionals loses money, the games makes money. So now if your open's making money because of low overhead and the games is making money because of cost covering, you're probably looking at a more profitable business model at that point in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you have 2 more stages of online, quarterfinals and semifinals.
Yeah, right.
Now, the good news is for everyone that's a teen and a master's, nothing's changing for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe. They could.
Well, so I don't, they could, but I don't think so. As long as the structure of the CrossFit's still doing the open and quarterfinals and semifinals, they signed contracts to PED and they signed contracts with
Legends. Okay.
to run those events.
Okay.
I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
That's why they're also separate when I think they need to be one unit.
Yeah, yeah.
They should be, but if PED just started a whole like PED training league or something.
Okay.
Which will kind of lead me into my next like what I've heard about CrossFit could change to.
Yeah.
But they're starting their own league and competition and teams and things like that.
Okay. Cool.
Which kind of tells me they know what's going on.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go and do that if you had all this other work that you know that was going to happen.
Well,
I mean, you can. There could be another, like, if they're realizing, like, this is on us and we want to keep making our games version bigger and, like, bring more attention to what we're doing.
That's the route that I would go with them creating all that stuff.
Maybe. I mean, it's kind of a 50-50 shot.
Because they only have, like, Legends right now has their competition in December, and they added teams onto their games competition. Because, like, again, for Legends, Legends and PED had to have lost money this year. Maybe not PED because they did have like a secondary, so they might have had enough registrations to cover the cost of it. Because I think part of it's at his like ranch or something too. So, but Legends has their competition December as well that you have to do an online qualifier for. So they're potentially positive income. So PED doing this is like essentially an extension of what Legends was doing as well.
That definitely could be. There's other. It depends on how much CrossFit's now putting on them versus taking away.
Right.
So like that.
It'd be nice to see those contracts.
But there's a reason that decision just happened.
Yeah.
Right. And then obviously like Legends, they have these other competitions.
Yep.
Right. Same thing, kind of building their own system.
Right.
In case they ever say, hey, guess what? You're not qualifying to these competitions through the open or quarterfinals, semifinals, which makes CrossFit will lose way more money if they do that on that side.
Yeah.
Because so many masters sign up for
the
open.
Yeah. I mean, it would be interesting to see what the contracts are. Because like I think that's ultimately what it boils down to, and until you see the contracts, you're just going to be speculating. But
for sure.
I mean, I always step back and look at it from a business standpoint, and like you have to grow your brand, aka Legends or the PED,
right?
And to grow your brand, you have to expand what you're doing. And so like Legends already had a pretty good structure, and they just kept that structure and then added on the games. And PED pretty much just added on the games, and now they're having to look to add on structure, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I mean, well, right now, like these starting to do exactly what actually CrossFit was doing back in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, is where like the garage games in Georgia became massive.
Yeah.
Right. And like all these other companies were trying to do things like that and create almost their own games. And then it all turned into CrossFit Inc.'s games.
Right.
And those dissipated, and now it's coming back.
Yeah. Well, I think people are pissed off enough with CrossFit in and of itself to warrant going to a lot of these more local competitions that they'll just treat you better at, honestly.
For sure.
And it is more community oriented, which is what tons of people get into CrossFit for. And so you're probably going to have a pretty big spike over the next couple years until either CrossFit gets their shit together and people start enjoying what their product that they're putting out again, or more, I should say. Or you have one of these other competitions come in and kind of take the scene over, and somebody is now the sport of fitness and crowning the quote fittest on earth.
Right. Yeah. Well, so that what that looks like now. I don't know if you saw the video, but there was a video on, I don't remember who did it, but Dubai has a website up, which I haven't double checked it.
Man,
I just watched the video.
I tried to find their leaderboard the other day, and I went to their website. I was like, what the?
Yeah,
what
dude.
is this?
Yeah. Right. So like, again, that's a perfect lead into like, I don't know how much I really like believe this. Someone, people like to go out there and just create chaos. And
Yeah.
could have literally went and wrote this like website just for the sake of it. But that Dubai has its own way, its own CrossFit championship.
Oh, really?
So they took away the word CrossFit from their company.
Okay.
Right? And it's Dubai Fitness Championship.
Yeah, they de-affiliated from
their competition completely because of all of the war and religious stuff going on.
Yeah.
Which fair enough for them. But this website says the Dubai CrossFit Championship 2025.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay.
And there's but apparently the website was made like years ago.
Oh, interesting.
Which is weird. And it's kind of has its own alternate route to get there and qualifying steps. So it's not for this season in 2024 in December. There's a new one starting next year.
Okay.
You have to do qualifiers to get there.
Oh, okay.
So that the thought process is like it was written by someone having to translate to English.
Yeah.
You can see.
Right,
there's
right.
Been, like
language barrier
yeah,
there.
like some grammatical issues for sure. And the thought process is like, okay, well, it looks like it's trying to actually be intertwined. It's at the same time as the games is in August.
Wow. Okay.
So
controversy.
Yeah, like are they trying to do their own?
Yeah.
Are they a part of CrossFit Inc? Have they like become one of the events that's going to run this tour, you could call it?
Yeah.
Where maybe we still do the open, because why would you not? There's no way CrossFit wants to get rid of that. That's how they make money.
Yeah. It's an easy money grab, at least.
You sign up, maybe it's region based, and like if you're over in Europe, like that's one of the events that you're going to.
Okay.
If you qualify, and that's kind of like, or like that's the track you take to make your games. And I don't know if there's still a overhead big games, or maybe that's just like the region. I don't know. But the thought process that was coming up is that one, and then there's like Wodapalooza's. I don't think doing that. They already have too much going on, but a company or event like that taking on another one in this region.
Okay.
But right now the speculation is that there's 4 potential events around the world for that. So then that means do the open, I don't know, quarterfinals, and from quarterfinals those are the semifinal tracks.
Yeah. Well, this would lead into kind of what I think Barbell Spin was putting this out on one of their live streams. They've been doing a lot of live streams lately, so they must have an insider. But I think they were saying that
of course they do.
Everybody goes to the open, and then like top 20% go to quarterfinals, and then I think maybe you do another 20% to semifinals or something like that, and then the top 20 from there go to the games, and then they take another 20 from like a live competition or something like that. So maybe it's like that's like if you combine those two things, right? And like maybe this is the structure for next year, and they're just gonna maybe leave it the same this year and then go into that next year. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that would essentially be what it was in 2020 when they were doing sanctionals. You had 20 people from the open, kind of similar. You won't be from the open, but from the open go to the games directly, and then the rest had to go win a sanctioned event. It's kind of similar.
Also national champions. There's so many people there, which like I know that gets a bad rap, but
come on, no, it's participation trophy for so many people.
It was, but it does bring more participation to the sport.
Shouldn't go to the games for it.
No, I think you should go to like
you need a buffer.
Yes,
you need
do.
one buffer.
You do.
Cool. You made the semifinal to go to the games, and then you can get your ass kicked there.
Right.
Because, dude, come on. You can't have somebody that can't do ring muscle ups go to the games.
Yeah, right.
You know, like,
yeah,
or can't snatch 185 pounds as a male. Like,
right. Yeah.
That happened. A dude couldn't do the first workout.
Yeah.
Snatch 185.
It's hard. Was it run and legless rope climbs? And I think there was people that couldn't do the legless rope climbs.
But also, who got cut like that early? It wasn't Fikowski. It was
Street Horner got cut early.
Yeah, like people that shouldn't have got cut. Didn't Vellner get cut early too? Like not that early, but early.
No, he's been on the podium like almost every year. I think.
Like, wasn't like that 1 year, like 2019 or 18, something happened.
Thought it was maybe Fikowski that got.
It might have been like right. It was.
I think Fikowski got cut before the top either 20 or top 10 that year. I don't know. Well, yeah, you can go back and look on the leaderboard. But that was a wild. That was a wild year. They were trying to figure their shit out, and people were. You had like these random people, not random, but like people from like countries in like Africa who were like stoked because they're at the games, and then you had like people who have been at the games for long periods of time being like, why the fuck did I just show up here for two workouts on Thursday and one workout on Friday? Like,
yeah,
and now I can't work out the rest of the week. It was Vellner. Vellner was pissed about it. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
I could've sworn like shit like
that's
this
right.
happened.
Yeah, I remember them filming him and him being like pissed that he got cut, which like I get it. I get being pissed about getting cut.
Yeah, like dude, like you're like when you look at the profession of the sport, like you literally are on the podium all the time, and this shit happens.
Yeah,
like, it's a fluke. It's not like, oh, I wasn't good this year. You set this shit up and fucked me.
Right.
Like
right, and like that's one of the frustrating things about the current structure of the sport. I guess we're getting into more, our opinions here, but
well, this is all speculation.
Right, yeah.
So.
But like in football, you have 16 games before you go to the playoffs. Then if you suck in the playoffs, or you're like you have a fluke game in the playoffs, you get ousted. And then and you should be angry about that, but you should be angry at your performance. Like but you have a bunch of chances throughout the season to continuously get better. In CrossFit, it's like you have one weekend to maybe make your bet. To maybe make your money for the year too is the other thing.
Correct.
And if you don't do that, like you're kind of screwed. And they're making it more and more of an exclusive sport, which in general sports should kind of be exclusive. But the amount of exclusivity that you're giving to athletes right now is actually killing your sport. Like in triathlon, there's a lot more participation, partially because people have money in triathlon, but
right.
It's not an exclusive sport. Like if you have a qualifying score, you can go to, world championships or something like that. Instead of just like on a one-off weekend in May, maybe you have an awesome weekend, which is fun for the storylines, but I think it needs to be a lot more structured in regards to like giving people more than one shot to be able to qualify.
For sure. It's hard. Like I mean, there's the Olympics, right? But you have opportunity. Like there is ultimately at one point one opportunity to move on to the Olympics. But outside of that, there's multiple ways to qualify to be like a pre-Olympic trialed athlete, right? And then, to get there,
right?
The games, it's not. You have essentially it's this weekend, and like you don't do it, you're not going,
right? But that's also like the playoffs in regards to Olympics. Like that's a playoffs for football. Right. You screw up there, like you're done. But you've had opportunities to get to the playoffs. Get there. Yeah,
you don't have very many opportunities to get to the playoffs, which is a semifinal.
Right.
It's tough. Which that's why, like, if they do move this into like having different, again, that made the most sense back in 2020 when they wanted to do it. Well, not CrossFit itself, but a lot of athletes and other organizers wanted to have more of a tour golf or tennis styled thing where you have a pro card, you've earned it because you've been at the games in the past whatever years, and you can earn points at certain different competitions, and you have to do a certain amount of competitions to keep that card, right? Otherwise you lose it. You can't just have it forever,
right?
And like then you'll have all these competitions set up that you accumulate a certain amount of points, and then at the end of the year you have those points that you go and move on to the games, right?
Yep.
Which makes most sense because then it allows you, like, I'm sick, I can't compete this weekend.
Right.
Cool. There's another one. Go show up for that one.
Right. And it just brings more people into the sport.
Brings way
too.
more people. You see way more stories. Then also it makes more sense for like ESPN to be like, oh, well, like there's a structured season of 47 different, not that many events, but whatever events.
Yeah.
And like we're gonna show up and we're gonna have our crew go through all of these, so it's a constant season, like any sport,
Right.
so people can follow along.
Right.
And they're like, oh, well, Vellner's competing this weekend, and then next weekend Fikowski's competing, and like then you see Dallin, then you see Jeff, like you consistently see these people show up. Granted, most people want to see the chicks work out, not the dudes, but
facts.
I mean, I'm just saying, whatever. It is what it is. But you know, like that's just kind of how it works. And like if you have that consistently set up, then you're gonna have more attention. You'll have more money. The sport makes more sense, and you go from there. So, but those, I mean, those are the the three semi options of what I think are happening. Something is changing. We don't know exactly.
Yet.
And
I think one big thing, you know, to be cognizant of, if I don't know if I said that right.
Cognizant.
Yeah. That word. If you're an athlete, is that the sport is going to be there regardless of what the changes are or what CrossFit presents as a potential new season structure. And for the most part, every time CrossFit has made a change in the sport or the structure to the sport or whatever, it's worked out in people's benefits.
Yep.
Very few times has it not worked out in people's benefits, and I think that's more recent than it was past history. So, you know, if you're looking at past history and not using like recency bias, more often than not, it's a good thing for people when they change the structure of the sport. So, you know, we'll see what happens, but yeah, hopefully they announce it soon.
Change is always good when shit isn't working.
Yeah, right.
Even if it's bad for that time.
Yeah.
It's not, at least it's changing to, because it's gonna, if it's bad again, then it will change again.
Right.
And we're getting closer to where it needs to be.
Yeah.
When shit's stagnant and things aren't working, like you're insane. Change something. Now, more change than needs to be. Like they're definitely taking drugs, which we're actually going to talk about.
Right.
But they're, I don't know. They're all over the place and need to be more consistent about where they're moving their sport. Yeah, I don't know. They're trying to stay like their sport is, and anything, anytime, anywhere, and it just works. I'm like, that's not how this works.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, yeah. So I guess moving on here, we'll move on to the next topic.
And that was only for the individual side. We don't even fucking know what's going on.
Oh yeah, we have no idea what the teams. Yeah, so who knows there, which sucks because.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you saw. There's a picture of Tia, Jay Crouch, Ricky Garrard, and I don't remember Cara. No, it wasn't Cara. I don't remember who. It's another female. All like working out on the worm and like saying 2025 CrossFit Games as a team.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And some people message me and say, "Is this for real?" I'm like, no, I doubt it. Dude, Tia's too good. Ricky still wants to win. They're probably just fucking around and having fun.
Yeah.
Because they're all in Australia.
Right.
And making a joke. But at the same time, like, I don't know. Maybe they're also like, maybe they know something that we don't. Maybe Tia does, and she's like, I'm not fucking doing this shit.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go have fun now and enjoy my kid and go work out on a team and try to win.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah, we'll see. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see what the future holds here. But
drugs and CrossFit.
Yeah. So we had 3 Masters athletes pop. And this is kind of taking off a barbell spin again here. They, I think, did a podcast last night, a couple days ago, once this podcast gets released. And one of the questions that they asked or brought up was, should masters be allowed to compete if they're on HRT for health reasons? So I think it's a pretty controversial question, I think.
Do you want to take one side and I take the other? Or
Yeah, I mean, we can do that.
What side do you want to take? I think we both can argue either one.
I'm personally a pretty big advocate for a clean sport. I'm a pretty purist when it comes to sport.
I would agree. but I can argue the other way.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think there's a lot of questions there, and like when I look at sport, I look at sport for the lessons that you're learning, the journey, the lessons that you learn along that journey. Who's had the better training stimuluses? Who's had the better training season? Who's gotten lucky and just hasn't gotten injured? Who has the best kind of resources in regards to like healing injuries? And who just can mentally bring it better on game day? And I think my stance is that regardless of whether you need those hormones to be back in a quote healthy range, they're still giving you a performance benefit relative to what your baseline is. And it's going to be, and I also think, I don't think there's any, I haven't seen any scientific evidence on this out there, but I still think that synthetic hormones, whether they're, I think there's like a biosynthetic or something like that out there now. I can't remember the exact name of it. That's supposed to be more of a natural testosterone or estrogen or whatever you're putting in your body for HRT. It's still more potent than an actual testosterone molecule that your body produces. And so that's, I think, a thing that people might not understand exactly is like the difference between in a lab versus what your body can create is typically the lab, regardless of what kind of test or est you're getting, is more potent in regards to uptake in the body. And we do know that testosterone, from a performance standpoint, is a beneficiary in regards to the amount of stress you can handle. And when you get into a psychological workout where you have a lot of physiological fatigue, having higher test levels in theory should be able to help you push through that fatigue easier. And so you're getting kind of like a performance benefit from that instead of being able to manage with what you have in your body naturally relative to the rest of the field, if that makes sense. So that's kind of where I come from on this. But
yeah, I mean, again, I agree with you and all that, but for the sake of devil's advocate,
yeah.
One thing you said is resources. What kind of resources are you able to scrap up to do this and like legally, right? But the thing is, people do this shit illegally in every sport. AKA, we'll talk about riding, cycling.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a single person's clean on that sport.
Right.
And nobody would fucking care if it was clean because no one would be that good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, that's just an example, right? Everyone is there, and it creates a even playing field.
In theory.
So, to bring that theory back to what we're talking about, masters specifically, in the sport, everyone's hormones are different. Testosterone's not a normal leveled thing. There's a range that's just crazy, right? And this is very specific versus like D-ball and Anavar and whatever horse steroid you want to take, I guess. If we're just specifically talking here, the range is so different. And once you're like age-wise, obviously it declines. So, and then there's a 5-year category. So like, how is a 35-year-old fair to a 39-year-old? The 39-year-old might have it higher. You don't really know.
Right.
But if we're speaking of like specifically things can't be consistent, now we're already saying you have a detriment of something, right? And now like, well, then you can't recover as well. You can't push as hard. You can't adapt to stress as much.
Right.
So then now you're looking at like, well, is that fair? Not necessarily. And now if that's not fair, then the sport isn't fair.
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, and to bring it back to like more of a purist standpoint, like sport isn't fair, but you should have tools and outside of just being fair or like the competition that help you to get a competitive advantage. So like, yeah, maybe you might not have as high of test levels as another athlete, but if you can train more intelligently than that athlete and you can maximize your recovery better than that other athlete, and you might, if you have better mental fortitude out on the competition floor, or you pace workouts better, etc., out on the competition floor, you have an advantage over that athlete. And so to your point too about the 35 to 39, I definitely don't think that those age categories are fair at all. Like you see the 39-year-olds like just waiting to age up, and it should be like a smaller gap there. But
so then like the next step is, I would say, like we'll go the money route first. There's two more that I want to talk about that are like important pieces. And then the third one's like a really actual important question to ask yourself. But this one is money. Sport is about money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Whether you're giving it away to athletes to make, or you're trying to make it yourself as the business.
Yeah.
People would, not everybody, but a lot of people would probably rather see crazy shit be done fitness-wise than a bunch of old people, which are not old, but I'm just saying it for the sake of argument. Do shit at like a half-ass effort and they're like broken.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Again, that's a roast, but not really. You guys are sick. But saying, like, comparatively and like how your bodies have to act, like people would be more inclined to see more weight moved done faster.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that's true of just like normal division,
which
as
makes
well.
more money.
Right.
Because more people are viewing and more people are watching. So if your business wants to make more money, that's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Right? So again, that's the sake of money.
Right.
Okay, that's the money argument. People, like, I don't think, like, even at the normal category, people want to see people go faster and move more weight.
And, you know, I think, you know, I'm not disagreeing with that.
Right.
And I'm also not naive to the fact that there's drug use in the sport.
For sure.
And I understand the reasons as to why people would take performance-enhancing drugs as well. But personally, and I think I'm definitely in the minority of this, is like I'm a sport purist to see kind of like what somebody has under the hood, not hormone-wise, if that makes sense, like intelligence-wise, performance-wise, like all those things. So yeah, like I can totally understand the argument of like, we're going to make more money as a company. It's going to look more fun for people. And athletes are going to make more money. Like I can 100% understand that. I'm just going to always argue from the purist side of things. Like I personally would rather see what somebody has than like an artificially enhanced individual doing things.
I personally would too. That's also because like that's just sports we played.
Yeah.
Then the last one would be honestly your overall health. So this sport will fuck you up, boy.
Yeah.
And all training and all sports do. And at a certain point, like, so the argument is like, why? Well, then just don't fucking compete. But if you're an athlete and competitor, that's not a thing. Shut up. Like that's just not. So don't tell them that it's well, why are you limiting someone? So if this is sport, like, is it healthier to just grind through shit that's fucking you up, or is it healthier to put your body's hormones where they need to be?
Yeah. Well, and like arguing, so I actually think that like to be great at something, you have to sacrifice health to be able to do that. And so a lot of these people are taking PEDs and not sacrificing themselves, which in my opinion is cheating the sport and cheating the journey and cheating the process. And to each their own, like somebody else might not think that way, but I think it's cheating the process a little bit, because it's like trying to have your cake and eat it too, right? Like you're trying to get everything out of what you're trying to do in life. But in my opinion, if you're trying to become absolutely great at something, you have to sacrifice something else. And in a performance-based sport, that's going to be your health. It's one of the main things.
So this sport, because it's this is different than most other sports, because it allows you to compete at any age.
Yeah.
The longevity of that is impossible.
Yeah.
So now you lose your entire sport of all of these masters athletes if you don't allow, which you're not, but people are doing it anyway, allow that to happen.
You're definitely losing probably the top end of them, right? Like they'll I think somebody's career in the sport is 10 years tops maybe, and like it's definitely not going to look the same. Like if you're going to want to compete, like you're probably only doing class workouts for a majority of the masters athletes instead of doing some pretty ridiculous volume stuff that they're able to accomplish now.
So realistically, there's about 50 years of age levels that can really compete at this.
Yeah.
Right? So like if the majority, which is true, have started when they're 20s, 30s, even 40s,
Yeah.
you're losing all the rest of them over time.
Like the 60s, 70s.
Yeah, like with they're using shit right. They're using shit right now to
Right,
survive, right? If you were to allow it, you're going to extend the life of the sport. Just like, so again, the argument was for masters athletes, not for anyone younger, right? Allowing, once you've stepped into that next category of masters, and you can set it to fucking 40 then, or to 45 plus. Once you get there, you're allowed to do TRT.
Yeah. I just, like, again, I think, like, I think you're taking, like, it's like anytime you do something in life, there's opportunities that close to you. And so, like, this example was brought up to me the other day of, like, somebody who's clean in the sport. They're never going to win or make as much money as they could. But again, that's their choice, and their choice doesn't allow them the opportunity to be able to go and do that. And so right now, individuals that are on shit are getting their cake and eating it too. And I just don't think that's fair as, like, fair, whatever. Sorry, now I lost my train of thought. Shit. But, like, you should, if you decide to go on hormone replacement therapy, especially for medical reasons, which is kind of what the question was revolving around, was medically, if you're given HRT, that should close doors to you in regards to competing. And I know this is a very controversial subject, but it's the same thing as, like, a guy deciding that he's a chick now and he wants to go compete in sports. I don't care if you want to be a girl or, like, you feel, you're trans, whatever. I don't care about that. But when you make that decision, there are certain opportunities that should be closed off to you in regards to, like, athleticism for sure. And, like, you shouldn't be allowed to go compete with females at that point in time. It's kind of the same way that I look at, if you decide to go on HRT for health reasons, there are doors that should be closed to you in regards to sport, if that makes sense.
I mean, I do agree with that, but I also think, like, I think that they could make this a lot more interesting in saying, like, we are going to have a untested sport.
Yeah.
At the age of 45 over.
Okay. And just completely do it, like, masters is, like, free for all.
The fuck you want.
Okay.
Be pretty sick.
Yeah. I don't, whatever on that one. Like, I honestly don't care about that. I just think it's also a little bit of, like, misskewed a little bit in that now it's really going to become about resources and who has the best scientists and money.
But I think it already is that way.
It is to an extent, yes, for sure.
Because it's like, okay, financially, how much can you afford massage therapy? How much can you afford?
Yeah, for sure.
Physical therapy.
For sure.
How much? What's your job look like? Where, like, so what is your recovery? What are your resources?
Yeah,
Where's availability to do that? And some people are just economically more available to do those things.
Yeah.
And it does make the difference on a like, human-based level of what your hormones look like and how it functions. Because the sport is literally, yes, it's a mental side of it, but if it's not functioning well,
yeah,
you can overcome a lot, but you can't be the best that way.
Right.
So it's just like the counter argument of that is like, if you don't have the money to take care of yourself, especially as you get older, like, you're already set back too.
Yeah, for sure.
The last part of this is they should define, in my opinion, I think they should, and this is also my personal opinion, truly, not just playing devil's advocate. I think that the system of steroids, yes, there should be banned for sure, but I also don't think a lot of the stuff that is banned should be banned.
Yeah, I think there's a good argument there.
And I think that needs to be revisited.
Yeah.
And things need to be reorganized. Because I think there should be an allowable thing that you, like, okay, yeah, fine. TRT, cool, keep that out. Obviously, D-ball, allowed. No, I'm kidding. Out. Anavar, like, all of these other, like, anabolic steroids.
Yeah.
Sure. Now let's talk about the gray area of shit where people were taking certain peptides before they've gotten banned. Because a lot of this, and this is health conspiracy. A lot of the stuff that really works and actually makes people healthier gets banned because the government wants to make money on it. Right. We're going back to money.
Right.
And then that is thrown into WADA and USADA and all of this stuff, and they get banned on top of that. And there's things that probably shouldn't be that are actually good for the longevity of your health.
I definitely think there's an argument there, and I haven't thought a ton on that subject in and of itself of like I'm pretty pro peptide. I don't have a opinion on it in sport right now. I'm very pro stem cell, but I mean that's cultured in a lab as well. So like, could that be performance enhancing?
I mean, it is. It's performance enhancing because you can heal.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
It's like literally anti-aging. So like, but it's not banned. So technically, so
that's where like I think I've always been I get upset about the stuff that got like people will be taking that's not banned, but it is next year.
Right.
And like so you're not. But you are.
But you were, and we know.
But legally, you're fine.
Yeah.
Because they haven't found a way to test for it yet.
Right.
Stuff like that. Like that bothers me because then again, the resources of hey, I know this scientist that knows exactly what I can do.
Yeah.
That is legal technically.
Right.
Because they took off whatever fucking chain of amino acids, so it doesn't show up on a drug test. Right. Like.
Yeah.
Like that's where like this part of the stuff that like that's why I can argue the other side is like there's a way that people do this and they get away with it and because it's technically legal. And then also you can go to bed tonight and be like, I'm doing what's right.
I'm playing by the rules.
And I'm also healing myself the most. Like I am taking care of my body, doing what it needs, and it is not against the rules.
Right.
But it will be next year.
Yeah.
Or in 2 years.
Yeah.
Right. So like I think and I so that's why I say like on a real side of that, I do think they need to revisit what is allowed and what isn't allowed.
For sure.
Because also, like, there's a massive health crisis, and especially in the United States, about our food system and health and all of it. And, like, people, like, testosterone is naturally dropping drastically. Like, just as a very upfront piece. Why the fuck is that happening?
Sick microplastics.
Yeah, sick microplastics, right? Like, the correlation's crazy. Like, it's very simple to see through a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
So everyone's getting a lot more like unhealthy. Granted, people that are competing in the sport want to be healthy, so there's a balance to there. But I think like to end that is there should be a revisitation on stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think there should be steroids allowed at anabolic to be specific. Outside of that, we need to see where the line is.
Yeah,
a little better.
Yeah, I think
creatine works. Creatine's legal.
Right.
It's the cheapest one.
Right. And I think there is a revisiting of what is and isn't legal for sure, and especially with the health crises going on in America right now. Like, yes, we know that testosterone levels are dropping. Like, we know people's hormones are fucked up, and we know there's a lot of depression going on in the world too. And the easiest cure to depression is pumping somebody full of testosterone.
Sick pump, bro.
Yeah. So there are 100% medical benefits to getting on HRT and getting on some of these synthetic drugs. I do think that because there hasn't been long-term studies on them, there is still there's a higher than normal risk, I would say.
For sure.
I don't want to say it's like a super high risk. And I think the other thing that if you're gonna do that, you also have to be aware that if you're going on this stuff for medical reasons, you are on it for life. Like, your body doesn't come back and reproduce normal levels.
Kind of.
Unless you cycle correctly, but
I think there's stuff now that will force your body to restart.
Oh, okay.
And then you actually can get it off. The only reason I know that, I know a few of my friends that don't compete in shit. They're just fucking gym dudes, and we're on steroids fucking when they were way too young, and wanted to have kids, and their shit was fucked, and they went on I don't know, fucking stuff but HCG's one of them.
Okay.
I think there's other ester, there's all this new shit.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I know for them, they were able to have kids. Testosterone went right back up and has stayed there.
Okay.
And they're like, I feel great. I don't ever need shit again.
So it's resetting their pituitary gland pretty much.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's just a reset, but again, it's a risk. It's a major risk
it
might not reset.
Right.
So like you said, there's not a lot of a long-term study on any of this.
Mm-hmm.
So don't pick and choose. I know I'm getting into health stuff. Don't pick and choose the things to believe and not believe from doctors,
Mm-hmm.
because everything is generalized, and you can't be like, well, oh, the testosterone levels are so general, so any of it works. And then like, but the other things that they tell you, or any general, like, my cholesterol has to be this, like, well, if you don't believe that one, but you believe that one, like,
Yeah,
it's all general.
You're cherry picking.
you can't do that. You need to, again, find what's right for you. Too,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
make sure you
So,
think about that.
Yeah. Also, we're not fucking medical professionals, so
Wait, what?
take everything we just said with a massive grain of salt. And leading into this next topic here, we're also not lawyers, and we are going to kind of talk about the potential litigations and legal issues that CrossFit might be coming down for CrossFit from the Lazar thing. And this is a little bit of just some quote, like some scuttlebutt, I guess. I love.
What?
Have you ever heard that word?
Yeah, like pirates.
Is that scuttlebutt?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. In the Marine Corps, it was called the Lance Cooley Underground. So your E3s and below were just talking mad conspiracy theories. So, but heard this. No idea if it's true or not. But so apparently CrossFit's insurance only allows for around $3 million in coverage per athlete. Apparently the Dukic family is suing for $200 million, which honestly, those numbers makes a little bit of sense.
28, let's say. I mean, yeah.
They make sense.
He was gonna make money continuously in the sport of his life.
Right.
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 Like, I don't know if he make 200 million, but like, it's his life on top of that. So.
Right. So, I don't think those numbers are far-fetched. Maybe a lawyer could jump in and tell us if we're way off on that. But if you calculate a majority of CrossFit's earnings, they make a majority of it off of affiliates. I think last time I calculated this, it was at 56 million. It might be a little bit higher than that now and this was years ago. Now that they raised affiliate fees, I don't know if they have more affiliates or less affiliates, so it might have balanced out. But it was 56 million, and I think they are making roughly 16 million off of the Open, and I think those are their two biggest money makers. So you're looking at around $62 million gross. That's not including any expenses. And so you're probably looking at a range from 62 to probably $90 million in gross revenue a year with no expenses. So suing for $200 million is double or over double, up to 3 times what CrossFit makes in a year. So
Sick.
There's whatever outcome of that will happen. But I also heard that on top of that, they're suing everyone. So like Don Fall, Dave Castro, pretty much anyone involved in the games. Dave,
that seems kind of fucked if they're suing everyone.
This is what I heard.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
Like Don and Dave, obviously, for slander.
Makes sense. But outside
the city
of that, like the city.
The city. Maybe, and sorry.
That lawyer said, "Fuck it, let's ball."
Yeah. Well, and then also because it was an international athlete, there's now possible federal indictments coming down.
Damn.
So speculation, they were on Capitol Hill the other week talking to Congress about whatever, but it also could have been a visit to go to trial for federal indictments as well. So again, that is all fucking speculation and just random ass shit that I heard. So
I believe part of that.
Yeah.
Part of that for sure. Not shocked, and also like I'm not like sue them for whatever amount of money that you like, because the money will become generational for your family, but it doesn't bring back
no.
And
it's
no amount of money would ever be the amount of money that you want, and like this generation has to suffer through it, but like the rest of the family going forward will be taken care of forever now.
Yeah.
So like it's terrible, but also like 3 generations almost not going to forget, but like you don't feel the effects as much emotionally.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not going to bring them back.
No.
And like, you know, what does a life cost, right? Like, it's invaluable. So like, I don't have any qualms on the amount that they're
No, I
suing
mean, the
for,
lawyer
like,
also was probably like, look, we need to go for him with everything we have, and I don't care if this business takes, like, implodes.
yeah,
But also, they're probably thinking like they'll end up settling at a certain
right,
number, lower than that.
Yeah.
And especially if you're winning, you're gonna win a lot of these. Like,
Yeah.
if not all of them, I don't know, but like you're gonna win. Just how much are you gonna be paid?
Right.
I don't know. And like, unfortunately, it's not gonna fix things, but it for the sport of CrossFit, it's gonna put them in a real bad position for
Yeah.
what they can manage, and that's why all those three things that we talked about up front make sense of
Right.
what could happen.
Massively cutting expenses.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think obviously everything that is involved in CrossFit ties into everything else that's involved in CrossFit, i.e. the games. And I think that's probably why you're going to see in the coming years probably like an explosion of those quote unquote mid-tier competitions, or like a tier below the games competitions, because they're going to have the money to spend, and CrossFit is going to be repaying or fighting legal battles or whatever it might be, and not having the expenditures to run massive competitions anymore. So
Correct.
but that doesn't.
And also, like, do they want to? Because that was to happen again.
Right. Yeah. But I think too, like, to keep in mind, if you're an athlete, like, that doesn't mean the sport is going anywhere. And honestly, it probably means it's better for the sport. Like, look at the Arnold. The Arnold is a massive fitness event that has a bunch of fucking things going on at it, and like, it has professional strongman competitors, professional weightlifters. There used to be a team CrossFit competition there. So like, there's a lot of opportunity for people to make money still and still do this as a profession. And it might honestly open up more doors to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, and I keep telling a lot of the athletes that I coach, or even that I just talked to, and I keep telling them, like, everyone's a little short-sighted if you haven't made the games before, because like, that's the pinnacle. That's what it's been. That's the sport, right? That's the thing. Well, it's evolving without you maybe even seeing it. The event that everyone should want to go to? Rogue.
Yeah.
You make money.
Yeah.
Every athlete goes, they make money. You're treated really well. The events are super cool.
Yeah.
The only difference that's a negative is like the amount of people that go to view and watch it there.
Right.
That's the only big difference. You don't get the 50,000 people in a stadium, like, got it. I get that. They might get there at some point.
Right.
Obviously, you're not going to Scotland for it, but
right.
but like, maybe they don't have one, maybe there's two in
Yeah.
a year, and like, they're doing things really well.
Yep.
And they're taking care of athletes. That's a big one. And like,
Yeah.
so if you're like, what do you really want in the sport? You wanted to win the games. Why? Because you wanted to win the games. Did you want to be the fittest person on the planet? Go in Rogue. Go in Rogue, because like, it's an argument there. There's an argument that you might be the fittest person on the planet. It's a smaller like sample size of athletes, but you're only competing against pretty much the best, right? So, I mean, yeah, it's not the same system that the CrossFit has used to find the fittest, but like, you can rest your head at night and be like, you're for sure one of the fittest people on the planet.
Right.
And you got money in your pocket.
Yeah.
Like, so like, that's a really big, like, it's not just that competition. Now you have others flowing on that trend.
Dubai. Like, what are they going to do? Like,
yeah, well, now they might see an opportunity to start rebuilding that, because it was super cool in 2018. Last year, not as cool. This might be the opportunity to be like, hey, let's go back in on this and make this super cool again.
Right.
Because the destination's cool, but the event has fallen off in what they have been able to bring to the table.
Yeah. Need to start throwing those, what was it, iPhone 7s out into the crowd again?
Dude, they were at one point, we were just like, we are those guys.
We have fuck you money, so fuck you.
So like, but also like, as an athlete, it's somewhere you want to for sure go at least once. Again, maybe I got lucky at the pinnacle of that competition. I hope it goes back to what it was, because those are that was one of the coolest experiences
Yeah.
I've been to.
I mean, I know High Rocks is becoming very popular in Europe, and it's making a big push in the United States right now too, I think. But I mean,
You'll find limitations on that pretty quickly.
it's gonna die out because it's just the same. Well, sorry, it won't die out, but it's like its popularity will peak at some point in time.
And then it'll just kind of be stagnant because
Yeah.
the problem is because it's like within CrossFit, things are different.
Mhm.
And like, again, they don't need to be as different as they do, but things that are different keep bringing you back to keep getting better and better. And on a High Rocks, like there will be a limitation to the point where it basically just like, I mean, the Tour de France is the Tour de France because of where it is.
Right.
But like cycling.
Yeah.
Kind of level itself out.
Yep. It's the same with all endurance sports and like and most performance-based sports is they're very just like flatlined because there's not really any change going on in them, or the change that's needed requires you to be in the sport for 20 years or like 30 years to figure something out to adjust and change. But with CrossFit, it's like everything's just super varied. And I think the biggest thing that's hurting CrossFit is there's just no professionalized structure to it.
Right.
And if there were a professionalized structure, like this shit would be wiping all other fitness things like it was 10 years ago off the face of the planet.
It would be the sport outside of reactionary sports.
Mhm.
It would be the sport.
Yep. So, but cool. Yeah, I think we're around an hour. You want to wrap this up or?
Sure.
Cool. Well, thanks for listening, guys. Griff, thanks for coming on. We have a spot now. We just need to build it out. So if you guys got suggestions on what we should add to a room or how we should build our podcast studio out, drop them in the comments, please, or send us a message. That'd be helpful. But we'll catch you guys next time.